It's a fact of life. We're all going to pass away. And while we can't control that, we can make it a little easier on the family by planning ahead. I visited Tharp Funeral Home and Crematory to learn more.
Absolutely. I think by pre-planning, you make it a win strategy for you. All too often, I think all of us are guilty of this. We try to plan for the things in life that we think are possible. And yet this is one of those things that's inevitable, and we'd rather put off any discussion of it. A challenge for me, and I've been doing this for a long time, is to get people to maybe get out of the mode of thinking about the what-ifs in life. You think about how many of us go out and purchase life insurance to protect a spouse. I think percentages say that 85% of us need it, 62% of us have it. How many of us will actually live to retirement? I don't know the percentages on that, but how many of us plan for retirement or think that we ought to? And I think that that's something that all of us see in ads that we see on TV these days. Long-term care insurance is a way of protecting our assets. When it's a little disturbing when they talk about how many of us are going to need nursing home care at some point. Best percentages I can find is that it's a 50-50 thing about who has long-term care insurance. If you don't have it, if you don't have it, you're going to need it. If you need it, you don't have it. Where I come from on this, though, is then I turn around and ask people, all right, how many of us are going to die? That percentage is 100%, so it's no longer a what if, it's a certainty. And I think that in my job, it's trying to get people not only to come to that hurdle of talking about their own mortality, but help them to get over it so that they can spare their family having to make all these decisions on that day. And I guess have some say-so in what their choices are. It's not just about what it is that they want. It could be equally as important what they don't want.
That's a very good point. And dealing with all that stress and people arguing the day of Dad would have wanted this or Dad would have wanted that, you probably end up spending a lot more money that way.
No question. The percentages are out there. There was a CBS study done a long time ago that talked about the fact that families that haven't gone in and pre-planned are more likely to spend 30% more on a funeral than the individual would have chosen for themselves. That's disturbing. And yet the alternative is if they'll come in and talk to us about it, they're going to get a price based on what it is that they select. It's not our job to tell them what to do. We're here to facilitate what they want done. But that percentage comes down. Then they've got flexibility about how they choose to pay for it. So they're taking the burden off of their family in doing that. That's number one.
And the pre-planning part, if I buy something this year, then that price is set, right?
That's right. And that's why, particularly in this economic climate, when interest rates are where they aren't, the risk, if they will think about it, they're transferring the risk of how much is that funeral going to cost at the time I need it from them to us because we're giving them a guaranteed price. Wow. I think percentage-wise over the last 100 years, funerals have historically changed 4 to 6% a year. Wow. I go back to the insurance question. Is your life insurance policy growing that way or a certificate that you've got? I doubt it. And this becomes more of a financial issue, and I think those that will talk about it, I think there's a sense of well-being in knowing I've got it and it's taken care of. I've spared my family having to make these choices.
And that's a very good point, too, about the life insurance policy. That might be something that the family hopes to have, when somebody's gone to cover the expenses of not only the funeral, but just life afterwards. So if the funeral costs $20,000, $30,000 or something like that, that's a lot to take out of an insurance policy.
That's right. They may have come in and talked about it and chosen not to fund it and say, well, that's what I've got life insurance for. People pay for funerals out of that every single day. It just means they're going to be paying more for it than if they'd pre-planned it and pre-funded it. The money goes into an irrevocable escrow that can't be touched by the individual or their family or the funeral home for any purpose other than their death. Where that's also important, though, is that if a nursing home or something like that becomes a reality, that money can't be counted as an asset of the individual because it is in that trust.
And there's something very special about Tharp too. If somehow someone prepays and gives you all too much money, the family gets that money back, don't they?
Exactly. The state says that we're entitled to keep any and all interest. The truth of the matter is right now, again, based on what interest rates are, it doesn't happen very often. But it's always been the Tharp's idea that if there's money left over, that's paid back to the family, or they could use it to pay for newspaper or flowers or other things that might not be included in it. But they have that option. And I think that's one of the important things that a family business, family-owned business gives you. We've always said it's our family serving yours.
And you can also transfer this plan if you move to another area altogether. And Tharp Funeral Home and Crematory has several area locations. To learn more about them, 434-237-9424 or tharpfuneralhome.com.